Welcome to Riesterer Schnell. My name is Jim, and today we're going to be talking about your X700 series and talking about some of the high points and maintenance items that you're going to be looking forward to in the future on there. First of all, we have an X734, which is a two-wheel drive model. It's also a four-wheel steer. We also have a X739 model, which is a four-wheel steer, four-wheel drive. A lot of the features are all going to be the same on them. Even if you have an X700 series that's just a two-wheel drive, not all-wheel steer, we're going to be talking about a few things about that. So first of all, let's talk about underneath the hood. So in order to open the hood, there's a handle right on the center of it where you can lift it up. And also, if you need to remove the hood, there is a headlight switch connector, and the hood just lifts right off. That easy. And on the front side, you're going to find the battery. So if you ever need to access the battery, you will have to remove the hood. After that, we're going to have the air filter. So every 100 hours, they recommend replacing the air filter on it. Also, inside of the hood, you're going to have your information. It's kind of a quick tutorial on what you're going to need at different intervals. It has your 50-hour interval, your 100 interval, 200, 400, and 1,000. And it has a pretty much all-inclusive listing of everything that you're going to need to do for maintenance inside the hood. Even things like tire pressure and fluid capacities and things like that are all listed right underneath your hood for you. So you don't necessarily have to go to your owner's manual, but your owner's manual does list a few more things that it doesn't have underneath the hood. So in order to check the oil on your X700 series, we have the dipstick on the left-hand side here. All you have to do is pull it out and look for it in the cross-hatched area. One question we have a lot of, or one thing that we have a lot of questions on is the mower deck and setting of the gauge wheels. So normally, if you're running at a, say, 2.5-inch, you don't want your gauge wheels actually running on the ground. So that's why we have our releases on them. And what you want to do is push down slightly, hit the latches, and that way when you release up, your wheels are actually off the ground slightly, just so that they float across the ground, because they're not made to be resting on the ground, and they're actually going to make lines in the dirt when you do that. So by having them just barely off the ground, they're going to create less down grass when you're cutting, and it's going to create a better lawn for you. So on this particular model, we do have a 60-inch high-capacity mower deck. It is a drive-over style mower deck that has a auto connect feature on it. In order to do the auto connect feature, you do need to, because it is a two-wheel drive model, you're going to be driving over it forward, because the drive wheels would only be in the rear, versus if you had a four-wheel drive model, you're able to back over it using the power of the front wheels. One feature your X700 has on it is this orange button here, and with your foot, when you depress this down, basically it locks the rear differential together. So if you're on like a side hill and one wheel is spinning, you can hit that lever and it will lock both wheels in for traction. If you're climbing a hill and you want more traction, that's also another time that you could use that to allow yourself not to spin the grass and things like that. But you don't want to press it when you're like turning a sharp corner, because then it will start to tear up the grass either on the inside or the outside corners on there. So for extra traction, put your foot down on that orange button and it'll get you out of trouble. One of the most important things on the X700 models is the radiator clean out, and most people forget about this. There is a screen that comes out, and especially if you're doing a lot of dandelion or cottonwood type mowing, and in the fall when you're doing your leaves, this can be clogged up very quickly with that. So always make sure you check that before you start mowing. Also, if you have a condition where the temperature light comes on, the tractor will automatically shut the mower deck off to try to cool it down, and that's a very good indicator that your screen is starting to plug up. So don't forget to check on that and keep it nice and clean. Going up to the instrument cluster up here, on the left-hand side, we have our 12-volt outlet, which is on our right rear corner of our deck, which is a plug-in style. So if you had like a sprayer or something like that that you could plug into your cigarette style lighter port, there's a switch to turn that on and off. Right below that we have our headlight switch, and there's 3 positions on that. One is going to be just for your headlights, and the second position is also going to be for lights out the rear in case you need to see behind you, like when you're having your snowblower, things like that. The large orange lever is your throttle. Obviously it has a rabbit and a turtle, shows you up and down. And then the small yellow button, when you have a mower deck on, in order to back up and keep the mower deck running, you do need to press the button. And at that point you're allowed to back up, and it will not shut the mower deck off. If you do forget and you back up, it'll shut the mower deck off. You do need to cycle the PTO switch at that point. We also have a tilt steering column on this particular model. There's a lever right below it. Allows the steering wheel to tilt for your convenience. And then right below that we have our deck setting height. It goes from 0 all the way up to 4. It is an approximate amount. It's not exactly inches on there. It kind of gives you a general idea. And you'll see that the 2.5 is highlighted in the very top. And that is normally what we set the mower deck at when we level them. So generally in our environment, you don't ever want to mow below 2.5 inches, just for the simple fact that in the summertime when it gets hot, it's going to dry the grass out. So we recommend 2.5 inches or higher on that. And the most important thing you can do as far as maintenance is keeping your mower blades sharpened. For example, a clean cut on a piece of grass would look similar to this, and a bad cut when your mower blades get dull is going to look like this. If you think about that plant and the amount of energy it has to put back into making that look again like it's straight and healing itself, you can generally tell somebody that has mower blades that are not sharp. By the day after they cut their lawn, you're going to see a lot of brown edges on the top of the mower or on top of the grass like this. So always make sure you keep your mower deck blades sharpened so that you keep a nice clean cut and keep your lawn healthy. As we work our way to the seat back here, we have our tilt mechanism, which allows you to adjust your tilt on your seat. Your seat also folds forward if you need to get anything underneath it. We have our gas cap, and then in the front, just like any other seat, you have your adjustment to be able to go forward or back depending on your legs. Behind the seat on these models, we have our dipstick for our transmission. So just like your engine, you're just going to unscrew it, take it out, and check to see that it's in the crosshatch area. If you need to add fluid, you can get that at your local Riesterer Schnell location. And then working our way back forward from this side, we have our power port that we talked about. We have our glove box. And inside the glove box, you have 2 tools for your mower deck. There is a deck leveling gauge and the tool for leveling that gauge. So the tool will fit through the holes in the top of the foot deck down to the bolts that are attached to your deck. And the tool, if you look at it closely, actually has numbers on it. And you'll see that it goes 1, 2, 3. And it's basically, if you're looking at your mower deck, you're going to start with your left side, the right side, and then you're going to work on the front. And on your mower deck, you're going to turn this upside down and put it right underneath the edge of the deck in the rear, just ahead of the tires. Also the same on the other side. And then when you get to the front, you'll see that on the left side of the front bracket, there is a bracket, and it has a number 3 on it, and this will sit right below the notch on that third while you adjust it on there. But all of that information is in your owner's manual for being able to level your deck. And if you'd ever had a situation where the tractor wasn't running, or if you need to just move it slightly in your garage and you want to be able to put it into like a neutral in order to push it, there is a lever behind the right rear tire, and that lever just needs to be flipped upwards. And at that point, you can move the lawnmower, and when you're finished, you can move it back down, and then it's back into locked in mode again. And on our instrument side, we have our parking brake lever. So if you depress your brake, you can flip your lever up, and that will set your parking brake. You do need to do that in order to start it each time. You have your ignition switch, which is 2-position. It's on and start. And then you have your PTO, engage and disengage. Also your foot controls, you have your forward and reverse pedals. And this particular model, we have our Snowblower. So we have our hydraulic functions plugged in to the SCV. The lower one is going to be controlled our up and down on our snowblower. And the most important thing when you're snow blowing is you have a detent feature, which is called float mode, and you actually have to push it forward with a little bit of force, and you hear that click. That tells you that you're in float mode. So the reason that you have that is if your driveway has series of up and down bumps on it, that will allow the snowblower to rise and fall without putting excessive force down onto the snowblower itself. And then the top one will control your chute for your left and right features. As we move forward, we have the front PTO, and there are grease fittings on that. And then we're going to talk about our shear bolts. One of the things that you may happen is sometimes you can catch a large piece of ice or a broom or a newspaper, something like that, and there are shear bolts to protect the snowblower in case of that type of issue where something gets caught. It's going to prevent it from damaging anything expensive. So the shear bolts, there are 3 of them. There's one on the right side, there's one on the left side, and there's also one back here for the impeller. So your extras are actually located right on the side of the snowblower in the back here, so you can have access to them. All you need is a 7/16 wrench, and you can take the old ones out, put the new ones in, and your snowblower will be set to go again. So this video is just to remind you on whether you have a snowblower, you have a mower deck. Sometimes you go back and forth. You forget from one season to another on different features that it does have. So we just want to remind you, this does not prevent you from going into your owner's manual and looking up information. That's always a good thing. If you have a question on that, otherwise you can pick up the phone, give us a call. We're always available at any of our locations to give you any kind of information or answers that you need. So enjoy your X700, and thank you for your purchase.